Hello and welcome ooh, to today's turn. Sorry, I was having a wee battle with my microphone, but I think I have it working now. And I'm hoping that I can see chat in a bit respond to confirm such suspicions. I am hopeful. I'm also going to quickly sign into chat and ask you guys if you can hear me. Yes, you can. You can hear me. Phenomenal. Perfect. Perfect. Now let's get this show onto the road. I appreciate you guys' patience. Stream was supposed to happen yesterday, and instead it happened today. It is happening this moment. You guys are all phenomenal, and I appreciate you guys giving me a little moment to look after my health. I've realized that my little turn ID is incorrect. Oh no, it says turn 5 down there. We will just hide that. So you guys can't call it out further now. But, right, let us get this onto the road. I apologize. There's a lot of brain fog going on. If you didn't know, had a acute migraine episode yesterday, which is why we had the delay, and the aftermath is definitely playing in the back of my mind. But I am here, and it is indeed fine. Everything is fine. And we are going to get this onto the road. Now, first things first. Initiative. Let us click this fancy button and let us look at who is where. Redcoats are at 7, so that's up high. Patriots are down low. The group is 5. The Custodians well and truly ahead at number 10. Giddy ant. And we have the Knights at 5. So roll off between the group and the Knights. The Gemini League, second place with 8. So there's a roll off between the Knights and the group. And the Patriots are at last with the Boston Camarilla at the bottom with number 1. First Light at number 5. Society of St. Leopold also at 5. So we got 2 roll offs. Alrighty-o. 2 tens, left, right, group left, Knights right. Knights go before the group. There we go. And indeed, all the initiative bonuses stacking up for the Custodians. First Light left, St. Leopold right. And again, Society of St. Leopold first. First Light second. Righty-o. Yeah, all the initiative bonuses stacking up for the Custodians, who I believe get +2, if I'm correct. Yep, that is because of both of their initiative providing domains over there that they secured. Now, let us see what these initiative spearing ahead Custodians are up to. We'll first do their resources, and now we will have a look at their narrative that they've lovely written out for us. Let me get my narrative voice on. Expansion would have to wait once again this month for the Custodians as they decide to settle disputes in their own power structure and settle the contempt the other kindred have for them. Leave the Knights and the Redcoats to fight over the city centre. The spotlight only brings scrutiny after all, and they have new friends to make. There we go. Dealing with internal squabbles, it seems. Now, their first action is to resolve the event at the Sowa power station. And I believe this event is, yep, it's on their own turf. They're sorting out little internal affairs at the power station. It is a physical roll. The Boston Camarilla is present, and once resolved, they get 2 rep and 2 XP. So, I'm going to grab them their 2 XP and their 2 rep, because that is pretty much guaranteed in this case, and we shall see how much contempt they get. They roll physical. Do. And that is 1 dice. And we shall see. Standard, yep. No bonus dice? No, that's for the other action. That's a 1. Trying to deal with that contempt. But because you guys rolled a 1, that is 2 contempt additional that they gain on top of the lovely rewards. So that puts them at 8 contempt, is that? Yeah, 8 contempt. Ooh. Ooh. Cutting it close there. And they also have filled their crew advancement, which we will get to in a wee bit. But first we need to do their second action, which is to, indeed, reduce contempt. This is the handling of the other kindred opinions of them. I'm just making sure I'm getting this right, because I don't want the brain fog to affect my rolling and too much. It is indeed rule social. And they are spending 2 coin to add +1 die to this roll, which brings them up to a total of 3 dice, which is not an insignificant amount, I do say. Here we go. That is indeed a 6, which means they reduce their contempt by 3, countering indeed the contempt that they gained a bit, bringing them down to a total of 5 contempt. Not too bad considering where things were. Okay then, and that will bring us to entanglements, which they have 5 contempt. We're going to roll that. +2 scrutiny to a domain. Now let us have a nosy and see where that domain is gone. Where that scrutiny is going. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That means 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And we are going to roll that in the fancy manner. Your patience is phenomenal as my brain reworks out how to do this. Aha! Yes. Thank you. 1d7. That is a 1. So that is the American Respiratory Theatre gaining 2 scrutiny. Oop, not 4. That becomes a 5 because it was once a 3. Decisive. It wants to be 4. There we go. We have succeeded. Perfect. Now, we are at their advancement, because the custodians have filled their XP bar, which means they lose it, and it means they have chosen to do one of these advancements, which is here. So you could either unlock a new faction ability, increase one of your stats by 1, create a new cohort, upgrade an existing cohort with either the elite or armor tag, or gain 2 crew upgrade points. And the custodians have chosen, for the first time in this game, to gain a cohort. And they've written a little background for them. Ruthless and overbearing, the officials of the Cambridge Easy Living, a real estate brokerage firm, has a tendency to cover up and strong-arm real estate exchanges throughout Boston. Nothing too major as of yet, but when Disney discovered one of her team members worked for the firm, she informed Basil, and they started employing the firm, becoming one of its biggest customers. Now, fully ready to bring them into the fold, the custodians are glad to have such a useful cohort on hand to clean up Boston. They are ruthless, their flaw is overbearing, and their actions are claim domain and reduce scrutiny. Now, they have the Cambridge Easy Living real estate. Are you going to fit this? If I can spell real estate. There we go. Perfect. Not quite fitting it in, but we are talking its edges are ruthless. Its flaws is overbearing. And its actions are claim domain and reduce scrutiny. Now, very nice. I wonder if I can get that text to be a bit bigger, because that is a very small. Easy living. Yeah, easy living. Now, that brings a close to the custodians' actions and brings us to the Gemini League, who are gaining an XP, gaining a coin for their passives, and they are doing as their first action a reduce contempt action, and they are adding 1 die to this by spending 2 coin. So they are rolling social. I am just checking that they don't have any bonuses to reduce contempt. I'm not seeing any. That is indeed social. It is a reduce contempt action. They are adding 1 die to it. And they rolled a 5, which means they reduced their contempt by 2. Which was sorely needed for the Gemini League. Indeed. And their second action, contempt is not equal to 4 or less than 4. It is indeed 6. So they are reducing contempt again, using just a regular die, because they've already spent their bonus. And we shall see how they do with their second action. That's a 4, so that's another 2. So that brings us to 4 contempt, and that is all the Gemini League have wrote. So let us see what their entanglements are. Pretty simple, a well-used maintaining of like maintenance roles, maintenance turn for the Gemini League. Very important. Okay, paid the shun level +1 coin to the lowest status faction, or -1 with that faction. You do have the coin, so who is this coin going to? It is the lowest status faction. Ooh, not quite what I wanted. I want the Gemini League. Your lowest status factions, either the Custodians or the Society of St. Leopold. Alright, we're rolling a D2. 1 for Custodians. 1 for... One for Custodians, 2 for the Society of St. Leopold? Society of St. Leopold. Indeed. Again, we're back to the coin trading. It is the Society of St. Leopold. I think this happened before last turn, didn't it? The coin went to the Society of St. Leopold. What is happening there? How is the Society of St. Leopold getting their grubby hands on Gemini League goods? Well, that brings us an end to the Gemini League turn, and that brings us to the Redcoats. So I'm just double checking. Is that correct? Yes, it is. Now, we are going to do their passes, which is +1 coin. The SI are getting the money. Getting their grubby fishy hands all over them. Or as Vosh has pointed out, potentially there is some dubious dealing going on. Would it be possible to choose the Detective Minus status? I could agree to that if you are live. Yeah, I could agree to that if it's live, or if you think it could happen and you want to put it in your actions turns, like if we roll entanglements and if it's this faction that we're having to give coin to, we would rather lose status as opposed to give coin to this faction. Yeah, I imagine you could do that in your actions that you write up for a turn. But as Amber points out, just because you lose coin to a faction doesn't necessarily mean it's like extortion or you're buying them off. It could be that they straight up steal it from you. You know, more than one ways to get hands on coin. Yeah. Now, we are talking about the Redcoats. They've just gained their coin, their passives, and they have written a lovely little novel for us, which I'm terribly excited. I love the narratives that you guys write. It adds such juicy nuggets of information for the turns. Now, it doesn't take a declaration or an invasion to start a war. All it takes is an us, a them, and a spark. Sir Morris spends more and more nights of late wandering the streets of downtown Boston, an area nearly entirely his own domain. He interacts with no one, walks with no one, whether it's downpour or clear skies, stopping eventually at a park bench in Long Wharf area, spending hours of the night sitting looking to his right, staring at the lapping water and the occasional late night boats or yachts meandering back to their docks, and to his left, seeing the top of one Dalton poke out over the horizon, doing nothing but staring, leaving only just in time for the dawn to begin. He goes back to his study, ponders and writes letters, and the night repeats. His once very public presence has gone from Boston. As whatever Sir Humphrey Morris is complimenting, it is something that requires his isolation. Intriguing indeed. Action 1. Reduce contempt. Following the public humiliations against the Knights and the accusation of the Redcoats' whip, Kira Breyer, of breaking the Lasombra resolution, some widespread damage control was required to maintain their good image. As such, the relatively new to the public eye, and therefore reluctantly unoffending Miss Mabel Livingstone, was out and about, visiting many different domains, providing expert explanation for the past few months, and generating a modicum of artificial sympathy for the coterie she represented. Going around, weaving tales, spinning narratives, creating a lovely picture of the Redcoats' doings. Let's see how effective she is. There is no bonus in terms of coin spent, Fenwell Marketplace is only resolving Kindred dispute events, and Omni Parker House is to do with faction assists. And I don't think there are any other Redcoat domains that have abilities. That is correct. Now, that means they roll just their flat up social, but it's a high social because it's the thing that the Redcoats do. We are going to see how effective they are. Oop, I had to scroll down. Oh dear. I apologize. My rolling was not the best. So that is only one contempt removed. I'm very, 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 very sorry. But we will move swiftly on to the lovely narrative that these guys have written for Action 2. I'm glad you find that amusing as opposed to... Alright, moving swiftly on from my failure on the Redcoats' behalf. The night's murder of an SI operative in the combat zone, while immeasurably disruptive and dangerous, it did nothing to resolve the problem of the combat zone itself. As Sir Morris openly promised in Congress, he swore that the Redcoats would take on the burden of responsibility over the domain and maintain it, much like they had successfully done and proven with Omni Parker House. Of course, the ongoing investigation into the combat zone places the domain into lockdown, but that doesn't mean progress towards claiming and taming it can't still be made. South Station is just the most efficient stepping stone available. They are doing a claim action for the South Station domain. Look at this contemptuous ass sitting on the bench like he's got nothing better to do. Funny. Now, they are claiming South Station. Purely a stepping stone. No other motives or desires for this domain, I am sure. They have already started it. They are 2 out of 6 on their way to doing so. Claim domain action is a tier roll. I am pretty confident. I'm just double checking. It is indeed. There is no bonuses happening. So it's just the 1 die they are rolling. And that is just a 1 take. I don't know what I've done today to encourage these snake eyes. I didn't realize snakes had 3 eyes, but apparently they do. That's what we are learning here today. Yep, no, we're moving swiftly on to the next chapter in this novel. The Redcoats and the group are a peculiar pair. Sorry, I'm getting distracted by your guys' comments. Back to narration. The Redcoats and the group are a peculiar pair. 2 coteries that, well, ideologically... Oh no. 2 coteries, why this word is tripping up. My dyslexia is in full gear. 2 coteries that, why ideologically opposed, appear to possess one of the more healthier working relationships among Boston's kindred. As part of their shared agreement of tackling the combat zone, the Redcoats, experts in the field of espionage, make efficient use of the group's goals to disrupt SI investigations while generating minimal risk for kindred society. This carefully orchestrated operation between the 2 coteries, showcasing how, when the right tools meet the right people, truly anything is possible. Who brought all these snakes? Ideological. Thank you, Hug and Kiss. I appreciate that. My mouth wasn't producing the right syllables. Here, one's in my name. What do you want from me? Now, they are spending a boon, a minor boon, to perform a disrupt investigation action, which means they roll 2 dice. And I don't have it on my thing, which would usually, a disrupt investigation would usually be 2 dice, but because it's a minor boon, you're going to roll 2 dice. It would usually be 1 dice because it's tier, but because it's a minor boon, you roll 2 dice instead. So, I had a moment there where I was like, I don't think the words I intended to say actually came out of my mouth. Now we're rolling 2 tier dice. Giddy, what did you do to the dice gods? What happened? What is this curse that you have forsaken me with, and forsaken yourselves, because it's, you guys who live with the consequences. So, what did that do? Disrupt investigation. How is it 2? Oh god. Alright. Remove 1 tick? I think that's supposed to be... Oh, yeah. Remove 1 tick, gain 2 scrutinies. Well, we remove 1 tick from the first light's investigation clock, which, well, there was only 1 tick to remove, so to be fair. You said you take a 2. That is fair. Emma is pointing out a very valid observation. And I will actually ask you guys, because it isn't listed here in your things. With the Disrupt Investigation action, you reduce the ticks on the targeted NPC's faction investigation clock, which was the First Light's investigation clock. And then you receive scrutiny on a pre-declared domain that your faction controls of your choice by the result. Being like, you going into the... you're like interfering with SI investigation, and you're running the risk of bringing more scrutiny upon yourself, and that is reflected in the result. So the worse you do can determine how much scrutiny you gain. You gain 2 scrutiny. Could you please inform me, Redcoat leader, to and only JJ, which domain you would like that scrutiny to go to? And I will put it on it. And in the meantime, oh, thank you, TD Gardens. Perfect. Wise choice, seeing that it only has 1 scrutiny. There we go. Emma, I don't believe you are a Redcoats representative. Okay. Now we are moving on to the entanglements. We are sitting at 4. Not as bad as it could be, let's be fair. And that is plus 2 scrutiny to a domain. Okay. I wonder what domain that's going to be. Now, 1 for TD Gardens, because we're good at rolling 1s. 2 for Omni Parker House. 3 for Consulate General. 4 for Faneuil Marketplace. 5 for Longworth. 6 for Santa Tarpeo. My brain fog is really interfering with my ability to say words today. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. A D6, please, ladies and gentlemen. I would like a D6. That's a 4. 1, 2, 3. Faneuil Marketplace, which gains 2 scrutiny. Perfect. Now, that is the red coat's turn. I have coats that have been made red. I don't know if that's the sole requirement to be a red coat, but it is in the name, to be fair. Speaking of your faction, Emma, we are moving on to the Knights. And you have a phenomenal little narrative for me to read. Okay. I apologize if I butcher any of the fancy words that you put in here. A challenge has been issued. Silas King, the head of the Capulet camp and the direct descendant of the Arthurian, returned and challenged Sween King for the head of the table. Some may recall that several months ago Sween won the table head. Some may recall that several months ago that Sween won the table head with a furious assault on Silas within his church, beating him down in a ferocious display of controlled rage during doing her clan justice. But Silas didn't simply flee into the shadows. He has been seen briefly by a select few old allies, new deals. He knows how to shake hands after all. He is a venture businessman. The challenge was issued and accepted, and since then, the nights are suddenly quieter. Their obvious patrols still march the streets, but in far smaller number than before. A location has been chosen. A date has been written in stone. The leadership of both the Pencosters and the Capulets will be in attending. An open invitation has also been extended to the other factions of the city. 2 seats, first come, first served. A single witness favoring each side, if any do, and additionally an invitation for the prince or a primogen to act as a witness of the state. Love them or hate them, this duel will certainly be the talk of the town. Random suggestion. Could roll for factions showing up as witnesses. Might be fun. Or ask for a show of hands in chats. Or nothing. Just a thought. Well, first come, first serve for 2 seats. If anyone in chat particularly wants to bear witness to this affair, give me your hands on the first 2 I see. First 2 factions I see. We'll be there, I guess. I suppose also it might be a scene that you guys are going to perform. I don't know if that might play into any contemplation. But yes, a challenge. Oh, Vosh! A hand from Vosh. So the Patriots are there. And the 2 and only JJ, which means the Redcoats and the Patriots will be present as the witnesses. I imagine if any negotiation happens, a third hand could be thrown into the mix. You know, you can just cut it off, throw it over the wall of the event. You know, a scene will be created. Huzzah! That is exciting. I shall have to see if the prince shows up or if they send a primogen on their behalf. We shall see. We shall see. The prince hasn't been seen much since their announcement a few months ago. But yes. Now, let us see their turn. No shortage of mentally ill people fighting in Boston. We'll pass. Fair enough. Fair enough. Now, their resources. They have full coin, so they can't gain coin. They have 1 XP, and they lose 1 contempt. Very nice. I am just double checking that is indeed correct. And I didn't do it before. No, I did not do it before. And we are going to proceed with their first action, which is to start an ethos clock. And they are going to spend their faction ability on it. Now, let me just check. Which one are we targeting? I guess it could be any of these. So I'm going to do the one that is in opposite of KOL, which I believe that means we're talking KOL leaning as your adjust ethos, but you will be adjusting more than just this ethos if you complete this clock, which is a 10. Oh, no, it is not a 10. Haha. I miscounted that. 8. It is an 8 clock. Perfect. Now, I'm going to go over a duel of kings and queens. Actually, we'll read the narrative because this is the first time this is happening, and this is exciting. The knights have 2 valid candidates for leadership, and their oaths prevent either from striking down the other in totality. Because of this, while one is empowered, the other bides their time and strength until they can overthrow the first. This makes the entire faction a riptide of ideologies and a massive headache for the Camarilla, who wants to see them controlled. A 6-tick clock called Duel of Kings and Queens gains 1 tick a turn. When you perform the Adjust Ethos action, if the Duel of Kings and Queens clock is full, you may gain 3 contempt to empty the clock and add 6 ticks to the targeted Adjust Ethos clock. Once this Adjust Ethos clock is complete, you must adjust 4 ethos scales instead of 1. And by then I mean I'll be avidly reading. Good to see Hugging Kiss. So yes, the Duel in Kings and Queens clock, to reflect the narrative of the knights, means that they can add 6 ticks, which they have declared that they want to do, to a clock, which they are doing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And we are going to roll an Adjust Ethos to see if this duel takes place now, and we have the leadership change now, or if it occurs another time. Now, that is Adjust Ethos, mental. They roll 1 dice. They're not spending any gold on this. Oh, the music feels tense, and I'm so here for it. Let us see. It's a 1. Oh, it's next turn. Oh, the way to tease us. How dare you tease us, game? Giddy, and come on. Ugh. So that is next turn it is occurring. Let us see action 2. Okay. Action 2 was going to resolve an event, but that event is no longer in play, which reminds me I need to remove this event from the board because the custodians got to it first. Intriguing. Let's go, ones! Yes! It's in my name. I suppose I ought to have met the criteria of my own name. The duel is next month, indeed. The ones are with us today. The ones. This should be called turn 1. It wouldn't be confusing at all. Turn 7, otherwise known as 1. Well, I suppose a 7 kind of looks like a 1 if you squint. So there you go. It was hiding in front of us. That's from now on. Turn 7 is the turn of 1s. So keep that in mind for season 2. We are moving on to action 2 because the event at the Sowa power station was resolved by the custodians, which means the knights are unable to perform that event. Instead, they are going to claim domain at the Exelon Mystic Station. They're going to pay 2 coin for a bonus. Right here. Oh, and that is up here. Another domain within the Chelsea neighborhood. Long ago, the Knights declared that Chelsea should be a knight neighborhood, and they are progressing on this path of making that a reality, which is intriguing. Now, we are doing... not Chelsea, the Mystic Power Station. Exelon Mystic Station. Yep. And that is I believe a 4-tick clock. Because it's adjacent. Yep. A 4-tick clock. Okay, let us see if we can keep up with tradition that has apparently became that of the turn 7. We are rolling tier. We spent 2 coins to add a bonus die. That's a 5. That's a 5. That's not a 1. Thumbs up from me. I mean, that's spot on. Oh, and I nearly forgot. They gain 3 contempt from the Jewel and King's ability because they spent it to get all those ticks. So that's 3 contempt gained by the knights. Now, we are going to roll for entanglements. I know, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Hug and Kiss. 1s. It's supposed to be 1s. Well, I mean, you're up next, so maybe we could, see your desires fulfilled. But we shall see. What is the entanglements for the knights? Gain 1 contempt. There we go. So up for contempt, the knights conclude their turn on the precipice, on the edge of their duel taking place. The knights are great at taking domain, taking turf. It's impressive. I want this to be a 1 only turn. Well, let's see if we can make it a 1 only remaining turn. I guess that's how you would want to phrase that. Now, we are doing your passive, which is -1 contempt, +1 long-term project, which means the Gibson house is now been upgraded. I am double checking it is yes. Do. A long-term project. I'm pretty sure. Yep. Long-term project. Long-term project. Cool. Now, because farewell, Emmer. I'm glad you got to catch your own turn and to see more 1s take place. But because the group has spent a long time upgrading their domain, they now have successfully upgraded their domain to get an ability, which is +1, another +1 tick to a long-term project per turn. And they are sort of stacking it up in terms of long-term projects. So I am just quickly going to add all the necessary tags to upgrade the domain. There you go, Gibson House. Phenomenal. And I will add here to Gibson House to remind us in the future that that's a thing. Cool beans. Farewell, Emmer. Glad you could have joined us for your own turn. That is good. I'm excited to see when you eventually watch the VOD and hear this in the future. I'm excited to see this duel event. It's been anticipation for myself to see it come. So exciting. Now, the group and their narrative. The tedium of repeated actions when compared with the discipline makes for perfection. And, like a boxer, jabbing at weighted bags and targets, William practices and prepares. But make no mistake, while his chin is tucked and his arms guard the face, his eyes remain on target, watching the twisting of the tower's torso to perfectly predict the incoming punches and then go in for the counterattack. I love it. Very metaphorical. Let us see what they are up to. And they have pointed out something to me. That because of the man of the people, the special ability of the group that they have, they gain a little effect because the Redcoats employed a boon of theirs. Now, the group has been around for quite a long time, and as this secret organization grew into itself and made its way into mainstream Kindred society, they managed to capture the hearts of Kindred and criminals alike. So much so that when the group offers assistance to another coterie, the streets rejoice as their respect grows for them. On the flip side, however, when a coterie declines such kindness, the streets hear nothing. especially not from the group themselves, who retreat into their flashy flats and historical homes, reflecting on their experience and with one objective in mind: learning to never be caught in associating with the likes of you again. When a faction spends a boon in which you offered or gifted them, the group gains 3 rep. When a faction is the offering party of a boon that the group originally offered / gifted them, they gain 2 XP instead. So basically, when a faction spends a boon that the group provided them, they gain a little bit of rep. But if they go on to gift that boon or offer that boon in a transfer, the group earns XP instead of rep. And because of that, they've gained 3 rep. Ooh, that's not the right button. There we go, that's the right button. To their rep bar. Just by passing boons around. Very nice of them. And their first action will be to follow up on last turn's progress and to seize the Hancock Tower. And we're going to use 2 coin to provide a bonus. So that is a tier roll. Plus 1 die. And that's a 5. I'm sorry. Didn't roll a 1 for you there. I apologize. I know how much you wanted the 1s to happen. And we are seeing for their second action is to be an anticipate needs action. And to create a disrupt investigation and scrutiny boon. And that's another tier roll. Let's see how valuable this boon is. 5 is sorted like a 1. Is it though? Is it? Oh well. That's a 2. That's 1 away from a 1. Which means you have created a trivial boon. Which I am going to note down in my notes so I remember. Yeah, totally, like, basically the same. They're exactly right. Exactly right, 2 and only. Now, you have 2 contempt. Let us see what your entanglements in the 0 to 3 contempt bracket is going to be. Gain 1 contempt. There you go. That number is also a 1. What did you roll? You did roll a 1. So there you go. You rolled a 1 in your entanglements, which pretty nice. And we're going away from the group and to the fiery patriots. We've written a lovely little narrative for us. After I do their rep gain from their passives. It's quiet around the Patriots. Very quiet. Almost all communication between them and the city goes through Weaver, but they have by no means disappeared. The guys continue to keep order in the ranks and make moves in the city game. Trying to reach Henry directly, however, is futile. What's going on, I wonder? Now, their first action is to claim the domain at the Quinn House. Quinn House is over here, which means they will have a 5-tick clock, because that is 2 links away from their closest domain. So that is the 6 clock, which will start off with 1 tick. Quinn House is the objective of this claim domain action. Is that how you spell house? Yes, I have correctly spelled house. Claim domain. And they roll tier. They do not have coin. And they're not spending any coin. And they roll 1d6. 1! Yay! Oh gosh, this what is happening? What is happening? How are we getting so many ones in this godforsaken turn? Okay. Action 2 is the same as Action 1. They are claiming domain at the Quinn house to get a 4, which isn't a 1, which is 2 ticks. So they are 2 ticks away from finishing that claim of the Quinn house. Quinn house is a lovely little place. I believe it's a society house, or some sort of exclusive society, and it gains 1 XP per turn. I wonder what their objectives are in that regards. So, quite straightforward turn for them. They have 4 contempt. Let's see what they are gaining. Another 1. Freaking hell. Another 1, meaning we're gaining +2 contempt, which brings them up to 6 contempt. And that brings an end to the player faction. Player faction actions. I'm checking how we do this. Yes, we do this before the NPC actions, which I've not done in the correct order before, but I'm trying to follow my own rules. 4, I have to declare something. After all the player actions have been taken into account, a boon transfer agreement has been honored by one of the factions. Ooh, no. Apologies. 1 second. Oops. Not correct. Wrong one. How do I am going to I'm going to do this, and then I'm going to do bum. It is supposed to be. Your patience is phenomenal, and I scroll through frantically my files. It's supposed to be this one. I clicked the wrong G in preparation for this turn. 4, yes, the Redcoats, as the acting party, has honored a deal with the group, who is the offering party, and a boon is transferred to the groups. Not transferred to the group, transferred from the group to the Redcoats. Gosh, lots of words being mangled and twisted. Well, there you go. There we go. Indeed. Oh, I'm trying to break into our turf. Think you're welcome into Back Bay. Is that the group throwing fire against the Patriots there? Intriguing. I suppose that does reflect current status between the two there. But yes, our first NPC action we have to do. They have no passives to gain, because the Society of St. Leopold do not. But their first action, not their first turn, is to perform a hunt action at the Rivermark Apartments, which is over here in Cambridge. Lovely little spot here in Cambridge. And it has 5 out of 8 scrutiny. So we will go and check the physical, which is 2. And they are rolling 2 dice. And we shall see how effective. That is a 5. Which means if we go to the hunt action, it's not a 1, unfortunately, for you guys. Not a 1. You don't own nothing yet. Free real estate. I mean, that is true. They do technically, as we have gone over this before. When the domain is unclaimed, it is indeed unclaimed. The Society of St. Leopold has rolled a 5 in their hunt action on the Rivermark Apartments, which means they gain 1 coin and 1 XP, and the domain gains 2 scrutiny, which brings it to a very scary 7 out of 8 scrutiny. Close to investigation, it appears, as the Society of St. Leopold is seen in force, scouting the place out, looking for kindred. They gain 1 coin and 1 XP for their actions. And this timer increases as they do not pursue the investigation in the combat zone. And we move on to the faction that is pursuing this, who did lose a tick from the Redcoats' action earlier in this turn. For their action is to perform an investigation into the combat zone. And I am checking. It is a mental roll. Yep. Boom, boom, boom. A mental roll. And they're not spending any coin on this. They're just rolling their 2 dice to get a 5, which means 2 ticks, which would have been 3 ticks if it wasn't for the Redcoats. But the investigation timer proceeds 1 tick, and they have 2 turns left to finish that and secure a foothold in the combat zone. And last, but certainly not least, apparently very tiny, Boston Camarilla, who have a little bit of a narrative to be read out. Just a tiny one. Contempt from those short-sighted kindred have built up in intensity as of late. And as such, the Herald is doing his duties, assuring the Prince's subjects that Her Excellency has everything well in hand. They are rolling social to perform a reduced contempt action, which is 2 dice. Oh, first things first. They gotta gain 2 XP and 1 coin, which they can't gain because their revolts are full. They're reducing contempt, and they are spending 2 coin to add 1 die. So that's 3 dice in total. Let us see if we can, for the, not necessarily the last roll, we still got to roll entanglements, which I have forgotten to do for the NPCs. And 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2. I'm just quickly checking something. 2, 2, 2. Yep. And that is a 6. We did roll a 1, but we take the highest number in this game when we do rolls. And the highest number is indeed 6. So I'm pretty confident that that means that... Where's the reduced contempt action? There it is. Is indeed 3 contempt removed from the board of the Boston Camarilla. And that moves on to entanglements, which I forgot to do for the NPC factions. So I'm going to do that in retrospect. For the Boston Camarilla, it's a 0 to 3 contempt, which means they gain 1 scrutiny to a domain. So that is either Berkeley, 1. The Grand. Does 1 Dalton gain? No, I don't think 1 Dalton gains. Let me check. Does the Prince's domain gain? It does. It still is under the effects. 1, 2, 3, 4. So /R 1T4. That's a 3, which means it is the Grand which receives this scrutiny. And I gotta roll the entanglements for the Society of St. Leopold and First Light, because otherwise you guys would have let me off without doing their entanglements and giving them their owed comeuppance. And they gain 2 scrutiny to a domain, which the Society of St. Leopold has no domain, unfortunately. So that doesn't do anything. On the first light, they are at 0 contempt, so they're in the, and they gain 1 contempt. And there we go. And that brings us to a conclusion of this mighty fine turns of ones. Now, I have to now show you the turn IDs. No, not the turn IDs. What am I saying? The turns events. And reveal to you what the events of next turn are for you to complement over and work out as I quickly pull them up on my screen to make them larger for me and read them away. For that is a masquerade breach at the Old North Church, a kind politics event at Southampton Yard, a kindred dispute at South Shore Plaza, an occult curiosity at the Valent Branch Library, a decree enforcement event at Boston Sands Gravel, a kind politics event at the Boston Fire Department, a kind politics event at the Hibernian Hall, an occult curiosity at Sunco Logistics, and a kindred dispute event at the Boston Lobster. And remarkably so, as the rolling for these events kind of caught me off guard, there are 4 events offering boons this turn. So very much, and we have hunt and contend conflict boons, we have adjust ethos, host reception boons, we have resolve event boons, and humiliate rival and reduce scrutiny boons. Lots and lots of boons available for the grabs, and a reminder for you guys that the next advisory bill for spring 2025 is the Chinatown quarantine. Whether the Prince is asking for the Congress and Primogen's input as to whether the entirety of Chinatown should be put into lockdown as opposed to just the combat zone. And the scene for that will begin on the 1st of March. So you have, I believe, 4 days until that scene begins, and the vote for the advisory bill will have concluded by the time of the 25th of March. Thank you guys very much. I'm incredibly gracious for you guys' patience on yesterday. I'm glad I was able to get the turn done for you within 24 hours. Thankfully, though, not too much of a wait. And thank you for your patience in terms of all my butchering of words and pronunciations as the brain fog did its best to interfere, and also all the ones we rolled. Quite a lot of ones. Have a phenomenal rest of your February. Look forward to seeing the RP that you guys perform. And look forward to chatting to you guys over at Elysium after this stream. Take care.